Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. How's everybody doing this morning?
Woohoo!
Good morning.
Great.
I
Good
love it.
morning.
Good morning. It's so fun,
Good
isn't it?
morning.
Whenever I say that, I never know if people are unmuted, right? So it can absolutely be crickets on our end, but on your end, everybody's saying good morning. So it's real fun. Hey guys, we're gonna get started here. Going to have a number of great topics. I'm going to, if time allows, cover a topic on anesthesia and maybe one of the most important things that you should look into, particularly if you're looking at an elective surgery. And I'll go through that. I know we've got Carol that's going to be talking about the 3As, and we've got Hank that is recently from some, an annual exam, I suppose, and has some updated numbers on that. So we're going to be covering on that. So let's get going. Let's go around the horn. And good morning, Carol. We're going to go to you first. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. How are you guys all doing?
Doing fantastic.
Congratulations for getting up early and being functional. I think that's great. Not being I'm a very creative person in the morning, but I'm not necessarily one that's out on the trail early. I do a lot of other stuff early. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to talk. Well, you opened the door, Eric, really, really well. I'm going to stop here because I've already been on part of my power walk and get in the shade here. Yeah, you talked about preparedness for surgery, and I think that's a great message that you just sent because in equally important, you're not going into surgery here when you're starting your HealthPointe program or restarting, but you are going into a tremendous program that's going to make all the difference in the world to you and to your health, depending on how prepared you are and how serious you are. You can go on this half-heartedly, and it probably will give you half-hearted results. But if you come in serious, that you definitely, even if you don't have a lot to lose, some folks come in, they only have 10, 15 pounds to lose, but they want to change their habits. Well, that's equally important than somebody that wants to come in and has 100, 200, 300 pounds to lose. And it will be a longer haul, but the bottom line is they still need to change habits. So, so I think being prepared mentally and physically is really important. And so I thought of 3As this morning. And the first one is accountability. And I think accountability is extremely important in this program in particular, because you have a coach basically free of charge. And a lot of times, if it's free of charge, maybe we don't take it as seriously as we should. But let me tell you something, that comes at a cost to you then. If you don't participate and take advantage of the expertise that your coach has, it's just going to be a longer haul for you because you've never done a program like this. No matter what diet you've been on or whatever you've been on, you've never been on the HealthPointe program, which is not a diet, it's a healthy living program. And so your coach is going to be extremely important to you, but it can only be as important as you are accountable to them. And I personally prefer folks to send in texts first thing in the morning, but I'll work with anything. But I think the journaling part of it, where you're accountable every day, good or bad. But I think also don't just keep sending in bad or sloppy reports. If you're looking at where you're falling apart on something, change it, trim it up, or ask your coach, I'm falling short on this. How can I make some changes? So again, getting into that accountability, that everyday interaction. I think the other thing is your apps and audios. That would be my second A, and that comes with your kit. Your HealthPointe app has tremendous information on it, and I know Eric's administrative assistant a while ago actually read those daily messages, and so we have them on a playlist, and your coach has those. But we also have them on the app where you can read them. And they're like a 1-minute message for every day. So wherever you are in the program, that's the day that you should read that 1-minute message. You think, well, 1 minute message, what can you say in 1 minute? But what it does is it refocuses you back on where you are that day, and sometimes the pitfalls or the things that you need to be aware of for that day. So I would say really utilize your app. Go in there. Some of you have digital, some of you have hard copy, some of you have PDF files on your user guide and your journals, but go in there and read that journal every day. Read something out of that journal, or at least at the beginning of each cycle, read the journal through. Because again, all those things can recenter you into where you want to go with this. Also, your coach will be sending you audios, and those audios are by people that have been very, very successful with the HealthPointe program. And they're coaches now, many cases. They've developed big businesses from being coaches. And some of them have just really been successful at the program and have things to share. So those audios that your mentor and your coach sends you will be very, very important for you to listen to. So the other thing, I think, the third thing is awareness. And I say awareness because I've been talking to a few folks over the last couple of days, and I've also been aware myself of the amount of hidden stuff there is in our foods. And this is why we talk so much about shopping the peripheral of your grocery store rather than the interior, because the statistic is that 70+% of all groceries are processed foods, and your processed foods are your worst enemies. They are everybody's worst enemy. They're loaded with salt, sugar, chemicals, things you can't pronounce, and they're almost impossible to track on a HealthPointe program because you don't know what's in them. So I would say, as much as possible, keep as clean as you can in your eating, as basic. So if it says a protein, eat a protein. Don't eat a protein in a casserole or laden with sauce or any of that. Good morning. Just eat the protein. Keep it clean. Obviously, you can put, a little butter or seasonings, herbs. Herbs are great on that. But keep your protein clean. The same thing with your vegetables and your fruits. Keep them clean. Keep them simple. And the more simple you can keep your program and following the food choices in the book, the easier you're going to be able to track and also have results. And then I think one of the pitfalls that we all fall in, and this is the weekend. Yesterday we were out. Tonight we're going to be out to dinner, and so we follow the same pitfalls, or fall into the same pitfalls that you do. And a few of the things that I found help me a lot is, number one, before I go, I have a protein shake with my vitamins. Now, what that does is that stabilizes your blood sugar so that when you go into the restaurant, you're not going to dive into the bread like an animal. Your blood sugar is going to be sane. It's going to be in a regular area that it should be, so that you make healthy choices. So when you open the menu, you're not going to go for the goopy things, but you're going to go for the more basic things. And the cleaner you can keep those basic choices, the better off you're going to be. One other thing I found is we have these little twist tubes. And if you don't know what they are, because I know that we have a lot of new people listening to this, a twist tube comes in 3 formats, actually 4. There's an excess one that has electrolytes in it. But your 3 in your Nutrilite line, one of them's with additional antioxidants, one is for immunity, and one is for joint health. And they are delicious. And I learned this from my sponsor, Susan Ross. The late Skip and Susan always would go to a restaurant, and they'd always have their raspberry twist tube. They'd order an unsweetened iced tea, and they'd squirt the twist tube in there. Now, they had a wonderful drink while everybody else was drinking their sugar-laden whatever they were drinking. Skip and Susan were sipping on a twist tube with an iced tea. So that's just a little habit that you can get into. Very simple, very delicious, and you are participating with your friends, but you're not drinking the sugar-laden drinks. And then I think the other thing, and I mentioned this before, is the bread. When the bread comes, and many restaurants now are not even serving bread as a part of cost effectiveness. You almost, in many restaurants, you have to ask for bread. And if you have to ask for it, don't ask. Or if your friends ask for it, have them keep it at their end of the table and just say, hey, help me out a little bit here. I'm trying to lay low on breads, and so keep it down at your end of the table. I appreciate that. And just don't make it a big deal. Don't be weird about it. Just explain where you're at. So, in other words, eliminate temptations and situations, and you can do that by cutting them off at the pass before you ever step out the door. So again, all of that is a part of awareness, and the more aware you are, the easier it is to form habits. And Hank and I were discussing yesterday. We had gone to a little birthday party, and did we have birthday cake? I don't particularly like cake, but these were really beautiful cakes from our Publix. They do an exceptional job. Well, of course, they sliced a piece and brought it to our table. And so I said, well, we'll just share one. It was a pretty small piece. And we each had a couple of spoonfuls of it, and then we stuck it on the plate and put it away. We didn't feel denied, and it's not going to take us to the moon. We had our little bit of cake, and that was it. And so I think a lot of times replacing denial with perhaps discretion. You just be discreet about what you're choosing, discreet about your quantities. And if you are on the weight loss, which we are not, we haven't been for years, we've been on lifetime maintenance, so we do have a lot more flexibility. But if you're on weight loss and add more food, boy, I would stick really close to those eating plans. And if it's not on the list, don't eat it. Just don't eat it. And you are not going to miss it. You'll eat something else in exchange, and you'll be just fine. And the more often you can do that, the earlier in the game, the more critical it will be to your success. And especially if you have a lot of weight to lose, but even if you only have a little, changing those habits will help you not have to lose that same little bit of weight in a year. It will prevent you from doing that because you've created those healthy habits. So those are my 3 A's for this morning, Eric. Hope that made sense.
Oh my gosh, did it make sense? And I'm like, what? You're saying that this basically just came to you this morning? Are you kidding me? Most
It actually
people
came to me after I talked to you.
Oh, geez. Oh my gosh. So that's literally like 20 minutes of prep. But it just goes to show, what's inside you comes out, easily. This is, and also, I mean, beyond that, for those that aren't aware, Carol and Hank, speak and grace the stages and have grace the stages around the world, like literally have spoken within the Network 21 educational organization. Gosh, you guys have spoken in Greece, I'm sure, probably a number of other countries, and certainly here in North America. So that combined with just living the HealthPointe program and knowing it, I guess it shouldn't surprise me that you can just kick out such a polished content and talk, but it's still really amazing. So thank you on that. I don't know if anybody has any comments. Just a quick review and some comments from myself. First of all, very easy to remember. I did jot it down. The 3 A's: accountability, audios, and awareness. I liked on the accountability, like you mentioned, sometimes we value things based on what we pay for it. And when you comment that this coaching is free, but if you don't value it, it's not free because it will cost you. I love that. I love that, you might not have had to shell out dollars for the coaching, but if you don't value it, there will be a cost. The audios, mentioning about the audios that are in the app, also the audios that, yes, are in the daily messages. You go to the Voices of HealthPointe YouTube channel, go to playlist, and there's all 45 daily messages have been transcribed by my assistant, Beth. And so it's so easy just to queue those up. And I would say also for coaches or anybody that really wants to get deep, and I do this from time to time, and sometimes I'll do it on 2x speed, but you can cue your YouTube app just to go, one video to the next without it stopping. And I can go through multiple daily messages, sometimes all 45 of them in succession, and just burn that repetition into me, so that the next time I'm meeting with somebody or connecting with somebody on HealthPointe, this is just, this is a profession. You got to treat it like a profession, and that content is there like any profession. You want to get into it. So that's a real easy way to do that. And then of course the shared audios, that is an amazing tool within the Network 21 app to be able to click on an audio and share that link over by SMS. And I know so many clients as well as coaches, value that capability. And then your last A on the awareness, so true. The hidden carbs and sugars. I was laughing. I was trying not to laugh out loud when you were saying about like when the bread comes to the table, you said you're not going to go at it like an animal. We've all seen that, haven't right? Sometimes you can be, at a setting with a crowd of friends, and man, this bread comes out, and you're like, geez, oh Pete, elbows are flying, cell phones are dropping, chairs are scooching across the restaurant floor. You're like, have we not seen a meal in a week? What's going on here? But so when you
especially
said,
if you've had a glass of wine beforehand. And I have to tell you, for those of you that are alcohol drinkers, alcohol is the fastest way to put on weight over every other food. It hits the bloodstream the quickest of any food, alcohol. So every time you're going to take a sugary drink, think twice and make healthy choices. And I do want to say one other thing. I really want to ring Eric's bell, because, guys, this man, no matter where he is, no matter what they're doing, half the time they're in marathons, half the time they're in hotel rooms celebrating something or entertaining their family that's from other states. And yet every single solid Saturday morning, there they are. There's Eric, as strong and predictable, well prepared. And don't take voices of HealthPointe or your HealthPointe Facebook page or any of that, or our Saturday mornings or the videos afterwards. Don't take any of that for granted, because that's a lot of work on Eric's part. And he paid his administrative assistant to do that playlist so that we can listen to it. So take advantage of those things, because it's really out of the goodness of Eric's heart that he did all this. And we're very appreciative. And I'm power walking, so I hope you can understand me.
Yes. And thank
Bravo,
you.
Eric. Bravo.
Thank
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. You're awesome. Ring that bell.
Ding, 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 ding.
And he's also a great coach.
Thank you. Well, I just love having this community. So much of this, I think, for all of us that are active in this, it really is kind of scratching our own itch. I'm just glad that we're all together. Otherwise, I'd probably still be doing all these things. It would just be a one-man echo chamber. I'd be talking to myself every time. But no, seriously, thank you very much. And then I love also, just to kind of wrap on that last A, how you frame the discretion versus denial. Again, that's just a very memorable phrase: discretion, not denial. You're just being discreet. You're being thoughtful. You're using some, intellectual honesty. You're not denying just, I know how you cover that many times, because it's such a assumed component of a healthy lifestyle, is that it's like this, you've got yourself in a straitjacket and it's a denial. It's not. It's very, yes, but there has to be thoughtful discretion. So I love that phrase. It's so great how you put that together: discretion versus denial. So That's my commentary. Anybody, David, I think I see you and Chris unmuted. Good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning. Yes, I thought I would jump in at this point, and haven't spoken in a while. And one thing to share, tying in with both of you, is 3 weeks ago, we started a new person on HealthPointe. And based on your comments, Eric, a while back, I'm told the person, you go on the program and Chris and I will go on it as well. And uniquely what I chose to do to keep me accountable, she sends in her daily log to me at night, and I send our daily logs to her. And so that's working well. But this time, in the past, Chris always ran the program. I'm running the program. And so it's been a real eye opener of like sweet potatoes, 60 carbs in a cup. Like, oh, that was one of my staples. And so it's been an eye opener that way. And then the other part is with the person that I'm doing, she is doing the logs, doing everything. And however, she was being creative with the program, so she would. And so one of the things that from counseling with Carol again was, it took me probably 2 weeks to get her to be clean. And also to increase her steps. She started at about 4,000 or 5,000. And now she's pretty much doing like right around 7 to 9 every week. And again, I really appreciate Eric, because I used your website, Voices of HealthPointe, and I've been sending those links to her to keep her informed. So it isn't just me telling her that she needs to stay clean. The program sort of explains that as well. So that's extremely beneficial. And after 2 weeks, she finally, another piece is the mindset. One of the things I talked with her about is that you need to have the mindset. You need to tell yourself, I weigh 150 and I feel great. And so I really believe in that. You got to tell your mind where you want their body to go. And so I think I've got her doing a little bit of talking to herself in a positive way. And so by the third week, as we started the third week, she was one more thing. I did drop over to her house at the beginning of the third week, and I brought her 3 servings of a chicken breast in a container, and 3 containers of a cup of lettuce. I couldn't get her to eat lettuce. And then there's a miracle in lettuce. I don't know what it is, but there's a miracle in lettuce. And so the third week, she's really gotten cleaner, and she's lost 3 pounds in 1 week. So in the first 2 weeks, she didn't lose. She gained and then lost, gained, lost, and stayed the same after 2 weeks. So I'm grateful for her determination. The importance of having an accountability coach to help tweak you, but also the importance of an accountability coach to keep cheering you on when things are in a plateau state. And now she's kind of like gotten into a better rhythm with the program. And so and it's been a real experience for me. We've been on maintenance for a long time. After Stu Min, I realized I had portion control issues. And so I do much of the cooking, and I'm really good. And so we would go, that's good. Then we go back for more. And so working on that portion control has been important also. And so thank you again for everything that both Carol and Hank do for us, and for you, Eric. And so I just thought what I share. Oh, then the bottom line. So she's lost 3 pounds. Chris has lost 3.5 pounds, and I've lost 4 in the 3 weeks.
Wow. That is so awesome.
Congrats!
Yeah.
This is wonderful. And David, you might want to mention the fact that previously Chris lost well over 100, and she's not out of that arena. It's not like she's put on 50 pounds. She's still kept that off for what, 10 years now? Or is it close to 10 years, isn't it?
It's more than 10 years. And so we both have like 10 pounds that we want to lose.
Well, 10 pounds versus 110, which I think
absolutely.
was final. Yeah.
And again, we both knew we had 10 pounds that we would like to lose. And it's that last 10 pounds that's always the most difficult. And the second part is I knew that I wanted to go on the program and run it myself. I know the program, I've coached the program, but this is the first time where I've actually, instead of Chris running it, I'm running it, and counting the points and recording everything and doing the whole process. And so I remember Eric talking about that, I don't know, a few months back. And I just thought to myself then, that is something that I should probably do. And when this opportunity came up, it just seemed like the perfect time to do that.
Wow. I could probably say a dozen things on this. Carol, I know you commented as well, but I guess the thing that stands out to me is the courage of someone to lead by example. Like literally, Dave, that's the first I've heard of sending a coach sending their accountability sheet to their clients. And that is a window into authentic leadership that, is above my pay grade. That is really awesome. And again, just talking about leading by example, that is really cool. And it's obviously helped your clients so well, and then along with that, being able to help guide and tweak and so forth. Congratulations. That is pure. That is rock star positioning to be willing to do that, Dave.
Well, thank you. However, as I have matured, I have realized more and more that a sanguine like me needs an accountability coach, like checking in with Hank and Carol, and even with this program, it helps me to stay the straight and narrow as well. So, yes.
Wow, good stuff. Well, thanks for that, Dave and Chris. And yes, Chris is her legendary 100 pounds plus loss. And so there's beautiful Chris, and there you are. I can see you. Wow. Yeah. So thank you both for being such great examples in this program. So very, very cool. I'll jump in, and then I know, Hank, in our preamble, you mentioned that you had a segment. I'll jump in and cover mine, and it'll be relatively brief, but as often does, I'll be reading some notes. So what this stemmed from was, I consume a lot of content and so forth, and I was listening to a particular doctor. Some of you would know who this is if I mention the name, but she was commenting on the number one thing that she advises her patients on before they would be going into a surgery where they would be experiencing, where they'd be administering anesthesia. Okay. And now she's not trying to be the boogeyman about anesthesia, but she's just recognizing, the risk involved with that. And she's talking about elective surgeries. If somebody has something happen to them, they have to go into surgery, they have to go into surgery no matter what their state is. But the reason it kind of resonated with me is because there are elective surgeries that people have, and in it they undergo anesthesia. And the other thing is sometimes you have unanticipated surgeries, right? You might slip and fall, tweak a knee. I know I had back playing squash. I, popped my knee. Okay, is what it is. Had some surgery with that. So there can be these situations where it's not an elective surgery, but rather something that was unanticipated. And what was the number one thing that she advised her patients to do before getting an elective surgery, or the unanticipated surgery, it wouldn't work, but an elective surgery, is to improve their BMI. Okay, if you're not familiar with that term, that stands for body mass index. A lot of people will say, well, not a lot of people, some people will say, well, that's not an exact indicator. Body mass index, doesn't account for muscle mass and stuff like that. But basically, what I would say to most of those people is, if they're thinking along that lines on BMI, then they probably don't need to improve their BMI, because they're already rocking it out with the fitness. But BMI is a combination, broadly speaking, on your, you input the parameters of, male, female, what your height is, what your age is, and what your weight is. And it's basically doing an equation and it's throwing it into a spectrum from basically healthy to overweight to obese. And there's 3 classifications of obese. So basically, long story short, what this doctor was saying is that you want to improve your metabolic health, you want to improve your BMI, you want to lose weight before going into an elective surgery. And guys, one of the other reasons that this kind of resonated with me is, as I know I've mentioned on earlier episodes, I'm in the thick of a course right now, got a good year to go in it on integrative oncology. So this is dealing with helping people with cancer. And it's an integrative oncology program, which means that I'll be partnering with an MD that might be their primary care physician that is part of this metabolic training. And one of my roles is, particularly if they are going to be getting any other standard of care treatment, be it surgery, be it radiation, be it chemo, is to go into that as healthy as possible, right? So if somebody's going to get a chemo treatment and it's into an unhealthy body, a metabolically unhealthy body, then that can be problematic. The chemo does its work, but then there can be ramifications, consequences of that chemo. So, if you can get that body as healthy metabolically as possible before administering that chemo, then that body is more resilient. So it's really in that same lane, in that same context, that this doctor was talking about anesthesia. If you're going to go into a surgery and you're going to get anesthesia, get as metabolically healthy as possible. She's simplifying it in terms of, measure that by a healthy BMI, and then get your elective surgery, okay? So let me just break down some, I guess, 4 reasons or thoughts behind this. So individuals with a higher BMI face increased risk and complications when undergoing anesthesia and surgery for several reasons. Number 1, physiological stress. Higher BMI often correlates with greater physiological stress on the body. Excess body fat can compress the chest cavity, making breathing more difficult and reducing lung capacity. This makes it harder for anesthesiologists to ensure adequate oxygenation and ventilation during surgery, increasing the risk of complications. Number 2, metabolic differences. Obesity affects how the body metabolizes drugs, including anesthetics. People with higher BMI may require larger doses of anesthesia, which can increase the likelihood of adverse reactions. Additionally, the distribution and elimination of anesthetic agents can be altered, leading to prolonged effects and a slower recovery from anesthesia. Number 3, memory problems. Higher BMI is associated with an increased risk of cognitive impairment and memory problems. The exact mechanisms are complex and multifactorial, involving inflammation, insulin resistance, and changes in brain structure and function. These factors can be exacerbated by the stress of surgery and anesthesia, leading to more pronounced cognitive issues post-operatively. And 4th and last is baseline recovery. Returning to baseline health post-surgery is often more challenging for individuals with higher BMI. They are more prone to post-operative complications such as infections, delayed wound healing, and longer hospital stays. Additionally, they may have underlying health conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular diseases, which can further complicate recovery. So again, those 4 reasons: the physiological stress, number 2, metabolic differences, number 3, memory problems, number 4, baseline recovery. So just one more reason, I guess, to get healthy, follow the HealthPointe program. I mean, we've got all the reasons in the world, including, we're not, this article and this doctor was focused on doing this for this reason. Obviously, okay, there's a time and a place and a role for that. it's also wonderful to get healthy just to enjoy life. You know, if you need to walk through an airport and do travel and go ahead, do fun things, let's not forget that being healthy leads to a more satisfying lifestyle, because you can do the things that you want to do without the restriction. So that's what I wanted to cover. If there's any questions or comments on that, chime in. Otherwise,
Eric, I think it's very, very timely, your subject, because this week, Eileen and Bruce put on a client, and she didn't have that much to lose. But interestingly, the doctor told her, before you go into surgery, I'd like to have you lose, maybe it was 10 or 15 pounds. The doctor told her that. Now, this is not an obese woman, but she went on the program just because that's what her doctor told her. So I think what you're saying here it just kind of reminded me of, wow, there's a lot of people out there that are needing surgery but can't get it because they have to lose some weight. Now, that wasn't the case with this woman, but there is a case with many people. So I think you really opened up a very important door to listen with people. Do you know somebody that needs surgery but can't? Doctor doesn't want to do it until they're in that situation that you just explained. So thanks for bringing that to the forefront. I think it's very timely.
Yeah, and you mentioned that this person just needing to lose 10 pounds is very interesting that you mentioned that, because this doctor, the case that she was using as an example was exactly that. This particular person only had 10 pounds that she was recommending. And so it's really interesting. The thing that I would add to that too is, these points that I just went through kind of focused and kind of built a picture of somebody that might have a very high BMI. But even if somebody doesn't have a high BMI, they may very well benefit from doing, say, a 6-week cycle or a couple of 6-week cycles. Why? Because there's literally a medical term called SOFI. Okay. Skinny on the outside, fat on the inside. SOFI, SOFI, skinny outside, fat inside. Meaning, to look at them, you might think anesthesia, no problem. This person, healthy BMI. When in reality, they could have fatty liver disease. Okay. And fatty liver disease, in terms of its symptoms and metabolic impairments, is almost one and the same as sclerosis of the liver from an alcoholic. So your processes, your all important functions of your liver, certainly post-operative, after surgery, is very important. So even if somebody, quote unquote, only has 10 pounds to lose, or even is by definition a SOFI, they may benefit from improving their internal metabolic state, and losing 10 pounds if that's there as well. So yeah, so nobody wants to go into surgery. There are elective surgeries that people have, and then sometimes there's unplanned surgeries. And the great thing is that if you're healthy, that's the other thing that we should clearly point out here. If people are doing HealthPointe, getting healthier, taking micronutrients, fueling their cells, getting their steps in, getting stronger, their joints and everything else like that, they're at less risk for getting into the operating room also. If you, the other day, I took a pretty hard slip on a step, that's going to happen in life. I'm glad that my joints, and I'm glad that I didn't have 50 or 100 pounds that had to recover during that slip. I'm glad that my joints and legs were strong, my shoulders and so forth. So when I had to catch myself, I could catch myself. Otherwise, you do a slip like that on a stairway, and next thing you know, you're on a gurney in a hospital room. So a lot of things to be gain value out of in terms of getting healthier through this program. So, well, great. Moving on, Hank, are you there?
Yeah,
Can I
on,
jump in just for 1 second?
yeah, Dave, go ahead.
And just to say that again, Chris lost all this weight, and we've been on the maintenance program, but it's amazing how much better, I have more energy as I've gotten so clean. And so I've gone from pretty clean, I thought I was really clean, to super clean in following the 6-week cycle here. And I noticed now after a couple of weeks of that, wow, you know what, I'm a little brighter, I'm a little better. And so, and I mean, again, I don't know, I'm 6 feet tall, I was at about 183. I'd like to get down to under 175, closer to 170. So it's not like I'm overweight by any stretch, but anyways, just doing the program, man, you just start feeling better. And it's doing the whole program. It's like, you know, taking the omegas, taking the double X, I take the probiotic and doing the walking and everything. And so listening to your coach, doing what they say, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It works. It doesn't it? This actually works. Who'd have thunk it? Oh, that's great. No, and I appreciate you chiming in there because, yeah, it's one of the things that is kind of glossed over is the increased energy that you get. It's just, it's what I talked about last week when I said I'm addicted to this state, that if it's ever turns out that eating this way and doing this is somehow bad, I'm screwed because I'm an addict. I am addicted to the energy, to the mental, emotional state. So thank you. So Hank, love to scoot
Okay,
on over. Yes, good morning.
I'm here. I want to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about here, the fatty liver disease, which has become quite a topic nowadays. Carol and I recently purchased a book by Dr. Lustig, Metabolical, and it's quite a book and a lot of great information. And this guy, he knows what he's talking about. And I was in a chapter called Assembling the Clues to Diagnose Yourself, which was timely because I just had my lab work done last Monday, and I received the report before I see the doctor, which is this coming Monday. And I looked into this fatty liver disease, and let me share with you what he says on that. No, this guy's been around quite a few years. He practiced for 40 years. He said when he entered medical school in 1976, the upper limit of normal 2 standard deviations from the mean, well, it gets kind of technical there, for ALT, which is fatty liver disease, the upper limit was 25. Now the cutoff on the lab slip, you know, you have the range, right? Low and high range. Now the cutoff says 40. He says, how come? Did the ALT go assay a change? And he says, no. What has happened is this. He says, because 45% of the general population now has some modicum of fatty liver disease, and the entire normal distribution has shifted to the right. Because now the high end is 40, where you used to be 25. Very interesting, because what's happening to the population, and I'm glad to say that mine shows below 25, which was a high limit back then when he was practicing. So this is really, you know, very important stuff to understand what's happening, because it seems like those limits follow the population. And he says, you got to really be careful. You got to watch. Sometimes they up those limits because that's where the direction the population is going. And that was very eye-opening to me. I did not realize that they changed those numbers like that. So anyways, glad to see that. Mine is below the 25, which was the upper limit back when he was practicing years ago. And then the other thing that was brought out is your triglycerides divided by your HDL to get a good reading where you're at in that area, which is very, very important. And I think that the upper limit is supposed to be, I think it was about 2.5. And glad to see mine is 1.09, which feels good. So anyway, I just want to share that with you all. You know, I'm not on the HealthPointe because we've done that years ago. We just stay on good, healthy, clean eating. And Carol is adamant about that. She really checks everything thoroughly. Thank you, Carol. And keeps me on track. And glad to see that because, as you all know, I'm moving up there in years, and one more month, there'll be a new age coming on. But it's just to see that the numbers are all great. Very, very proud of the good Nutrilite products, of course. We've been on them for over 50 years now. And I swear by them. They are the best around. Don't ever go off of them because you start go back into bad situation, especially as you age, okay? In fact, what I've noticed as years go by, I add more vitamins, and that's okay. You know, we spend good money on good health. It's very important. So just want to share that with you all. I hope that made some sense. But it's quite a book, very thick, a lot of depth information, but some good information to learn, to understand. Good to be with you guys. Keep up the good work. Proud of all of you. Keep moving on.
Thanks so much, Hank. And I'm going to actually kind of comment on some things or maybe discuss this further. One of the things that you commented on is I was just chatting, actually, I believe with somebody that is in the joining us. And so I think we should camp on it a little bit. And that is the triglycerides to HDL ratio. And the reason is because in a perfect world, we go into our doctor and we would like to get more data than what is in a typical physical. For example, you can get a fasting blood sugar typically, but it would be real nice to get what's called an insulin test. Okay, so just as an example, but what pretty much every annual exam, if that's what somebody does as an annual exam, lipid panel will have a breakdown of HDL, LDL, and triglycerides, and so forth. That's in a standard panel and very, very available and very, very common. What Hank is referring to on the triglycerides to HDL, so you just simply take your triglycerides number and then your HDL number, and you divide the triglycerides is the numerator, the HDL is a denominator, and do that division. And it's all very, very easily, available. In principle, in broad strokes, if you want to think of it this way, your triglycerides, you want to be low. Your HDL, or what's sometimes loosely referred to as your, quote unquote, good cholesterol, you want to be higher. Unfortunately, a lot of people find that they're the opposite, where their triglycerides are high and their HDL is low, but most importantly, their triglycerides are high. So Hank, I just want to applaud and I guess just point out, let me start with this. You mentioned about a birthday coming up and you've been transparent on this in the past. So I'm just going to call it out for everybody's benefit here. As we're all getting older, you are currently 90, so you must be talking about a 91st birthday coming up. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
One more month.
Yes. So one more month, Hank will be 91, and he has a triglycerides to HDL ratio that is almost 1. That, guys, that is phenomenal. Now, what are the impacts on that? Well, let's just focus on the triglycerides. If you have high triglycerides, one thing that if somebody is just getting into the program, just getting into understanding HealthPointe and stuff like that, is it's going to be a lot of processed food, typically, snacks, crackers, etc. They're probably have never taken an omega, certainly probably have not been eating fatty fish. but have not been taking an omega-3 supplement. So their omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is usually really, really out of whack. So if you want to impact that HDL, it's a factor of, losing weight, getting to a healthy BMI, healthy weight, and supplementing robustly. Certainly our advanced omega product, which is 2 times a day, is going to be very, very helpful on that. And no doubt about it, I'm sure, Hank, you take omegas and probably have for years. I'm
Oh
certain.
yeah. Yeah, in fact, Eric, let me share, since you're talking about the triglycerides, let me tell you what the range shows on the report. It goes from 0 to 150. That's they call it the range. I mean, 150, unbelievable. And I'm looking at mine is 57, So
Wow, your triglycerides are 57.
yes.
Holy cow. All right. So and my wife is on here, I believe, still. You beat us. I often don't even say what ours is, because it is mine is like 59. Because if somebody's coming in with like typically, with a high triglyceride, and you say what yours is, it can be kind of defeating, right? It can be like, oh my gosh, not knowing, by the way, that the body can respond relatively quickly, not as quickly as it will respond on blood sugar, but it'll respond relatively quickly on triglycerides. But holy cow, your triglycerides are 57 at 91 years old. That if you met Dr. Lustig, he would probably, I don't know, give you a hug, celebrate you to everybody else, because that is, talk about being outside the norm. You talked about the shifting of the averages, looking at the American population. You would be so far off that bell curve. Talking to you like an engineer here now, Hank. I know you're an engineer. Okay. You would be way off the charts there on that spectrum. So wow. So you've taken omegas, obviously making other healthy choices. As you mentioned, you're not actively like in a 6-week cycle. You've been healthy, you maintain your health, and you've got a triglyceride at 57. Wow.
And by the way, turmeric is very important too, by the way. That really helps. I take 2 turmeric a day.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, we could spend a lot of time on this. Let me just hit on one other thing. What does all this mean? What does Dr. Lustig, basically arrive at with all these understanding of numbers? It's a huge marker for cardiovascular risk. Huge. I'll put it to you this way. I had a family member, I may have shared this before, that had a heart incident, and I happened to get, when I heard that this has happened and called the hospital, and in a brief moment of time, I had an opportunity to get the numbers from the nurse, some of these numbers. And when I got them, he was in for a heart issue. Had he not been in there for the heart issue, I would have thought, wow, he's really on the cusp of a heart issue based on these triglyceride numbers and some other things. As it turns out, that's the reason I was making the call is because he was in the hospital. But also, when I looked at the numbers and did the math on it, I was surprised that he wasn't diabetic. But I didn't comment on it. It was other discussion about recovery, and thank goodness it was a successful recovery, the hospital intervention and so forth. And also I'll say that he has made incredible moves and improvements in his dietary choices and lifestyle and so forth, very, very much in line with like a HealthPointe type of a program. But the point is that after being released from the hospital, you go back for checkups, and I had talked with him after that, and I think it was 2 weeks later that he went in, and they informed him that he was diabetic, which means, these numbers. So I looked at the numbers when he was in the hospital, the day that he was in there, and I'm talking with the nurse, and I'm not surprised that he had a heart incident, a cardiac incident, but I'm kind of curious why he's not diabetic, because he never mentioned he's diabetic. He wasn't. Nobody knew he was diabetic, but the numbers were showing that he should be, and in fact he was, but he just hadn't been into a hospital in a lot of years where those numbers weren't there. So what's the point of all that? The point of all that is that you want to look at your lipid panel. If you're doing an annual exam, it's a very, very simple thing to look at your triglycerides. In Hank's example, they're low, they're 57, but whatever they are what they are. Are they 80? Are they 100? Are they 150? Are they 200? And then you divide that by your HDL. And if he's mentioning 2.5, I know there's a little bit of a change depending upon Caucasian versus African American, but generally speaking, you want to get that ratio in the healthy range, certainly under 2.5 and arguably under 2. And gosh, if you can get down in the range like you're at, Hank, at a 1.09, that is a marker for cardiovascular health. Healthy heart, healthy cardiovascular system. So it's very, very much in your hands. So wow, impressed. I'm always impressed with you, Hank, but I'm more impressed now. This is awesome. Very cool. Anything else from anybody before we wrap up here?
Hello, me and Carolyn are out for a walk. We just wanted to say hi. We've been listening the entire time together, side by side.
So
Hey. Oh my gosh, you guys love it.
I got my coffee with me. Cheers.
Yay. All right. Well, thanks for popping on there. I love that. I love seeing both of you, and glad that you guys are out getting your steps in. This has been fantastic. Guys, I'll get this up to YouTube so that you can rewatch it. David had mentioned something earlier about sharing, particularly like the daily messages. And Kathy, you just popped on here. Did you want to chime in as well? Hey, I love your hair.
Oh, thanks. I'm actually getting ready to head out to your neck of the woods. We have our family reunion up in Bath today at noon. So that's why I was kind of like on late, because I was running around trying to get stuff together. But so it's all the way up to try to stay cool today. So thanks. Yeah, I know luckily you let me in around 8:30. I wish I could have caught the beginning, but at least I caught you guys a little bit. Just wanted to say hello, happy Saturday. And for those of you who are following the Step Queens history, we are at 2 years, 109 days today consecutively. And today will be a very difficult day for me to get to 10,000, because I'm going to be in the car for like an hour and 45 minutes getting to the reunion, and then I'm going to be visiting with people, sitting on my butt, and I'm hoping I can get a couple cousins to walk with me, but it will be challenging. I might have like 8,000 to do once I get home tonight, but anyway, I will do it. It will be done. As I've said before, it is who I am. So Erica, happy to see you out walking, and Carolyn too. That's great. And it just makes a big difference. I feel so much.
You're the gal that you mentioned. Sorry to interrupt. I want to say that your coworker is on, or was earlier.
Jeremy is on. She's on.
Excellent. Excellent.
I had told her I was going to do my best to get on, but she said she would definitely be on. So I said, great. I'm proud of you. You're doing better than your coach. So.
But that's great.
Did Jamaica want to say something? Or say hi?
Yes, I was actually trying to get off mute, but hi everyone.
Hey.
Awesome.
Glad to be on. Very informative.
Well, good to have you,
Wonderful.
Jamaica.
All right, glad to be here. Thank you all.
You have a fabulous
Uh,
coach, Kathy. I mean, she's a living,
I
walking
do.
example.
She's great. She's
Yes, she
great.
is.
Aw,
we
thanks,
all
guys.
strive to be like Kathy on our steps. So speaking of which, I'm going to wrap this so that I can go get some steps in. So guys,
That
this has been so great. As always, really appreciate everyone. And so we'll see everybody same time, same place next Saturday on Zoom. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
Get
Have a
those steps
great
in.
day. Make it a healthy one.